I'm so scared to fully sit in this chair. I think I cleaned all of the spider webs off of it, but honestly, they're everywhere out here, so this video might get really exciting if I left any stragglers and they make an appearance. I'm not terribly afraid of spiders. I actually let one live in my house the last 2 weeks, like a big one, pretty big. I don't know what kind it was, if it was a wolf spider, maybe a brown recluse, who knows. Giant spider. It was living by one of the water bowls in the house, and I named it Sammy the spider. The only condition I had for letting it live out its life was that it make sure it was always in view, so I never had to wonder where it was, like potentially in my bed. And it did recently disappear, so we're gonna have a discussion if I ever see him again. But long story short, I'm not afraid of spiders. When they surprise you, that causes a problem for me. Literally, that's nothing to do with this video, I'm so sorry. This video is about poop, actually. I don't know which one's worse. Should not be trying to balance it on this. It's definitely gonna fall off the back of the deck. So I kind of touched on this in one of my other videos, how to housebreak your pig or potty train your pig. I don't know if housebreak is appropriate because a lot of times they're technically still going inside the house, but in the designated area. How to get your pig to poop and pee where you want it to, basically, whether that's outside or whatever. I think a lot of people struggle with this because they try to do it exactly the same way you would housebreak a dog. And while it's similar, it's not exactly the same. I have had years of trial and error and a lot of different pigs. And so this is what has worked for me. First thing to note, there's a lot of stereotypes when it comes to pigs. One of them being that they are really dirty animals. Actually, pigs are incredibly clean, to the extent I've watched newborn piglets that can barely walk, literally first 5 minutes on the planet, stumble from their mother to the other corner of the pen that they're in, to the place that is the designated potty space, to go to the bathroom. From the minute they're born, they want to keep everything clean. This can be a really simple process, or it can be really difficult. I have talked about a lot of these products before. I will link them all below. But one of the things that I like to use is a potty pad and a potty pad holder. The alternative to that is the fake grass turf potty pads. Both of them are great. They both have advantages and disadvantages, and I'll go over that in a minute. But the reason I prefer to use these instead of a litter box, which I know a lot of people try, litter boxes have always failed for me. Now, you're not going to put litter, like cat litter, in it. If you do use one, you're going to use shavings, not cedar. You always use pine shavings. But the reason those don't work for me is that they're really comfortable. So a lot of my pigs have ended up wanting to sleep or play or root around in the shavings rather than go to the bathroom. I did away with that almost immediately. The potty pads and the turf pads are what I use here. I like the potty pads because they are easy to just pick up and toss every day. And I do have to do it every day. When you use them in combination with the pad holder, it stops any leaks. And I've heard some people say that their pigs like to tear up the potty pads, which generally means either your pig is frustrated or bored, or they don't feel like you've provided them with enough soft blankets and a cozy place to sleep, so they will tear it up and sleep in it. So usually if that's happening, it's a sign that something else needs to be done. But the potty pad holder locks that pad in place so that they can't tear it up, and it also stops it from leaking. So you're going to want to do both of those. Don't just use the pad. Now, the downside of that is that it's not environmentally friendly, and it's a little bit expensive when you're having to change them every day. I get 100 of them on Amazon, fairly cheap, but still, it's not as nice for the environment. So I do like to do both. The turf pad is kind of a pain because you do have to carefully balance to get it to wherever you're going to need to hose it off at. And yeah, if you're like me and you have multiple pigs, it can be a very precarious situation. Other than that, it's not very complicated, and it's a one-time fee. You're not having to replace it, so it's a little more cost effective as well. Now, the reason why I don't recommend going straight to teaching them to only go outside, instinctively, they like to go outside. It's not in their living space. They can go out there, forget about it, it'll disappear. So you're not gonna have very much trouble transitioning from one of the pads to going outside. The problem with trying to go immediately outside, not offering any alternative indoors, is that baby pigs, up until the time that they're 6 months, possibly even a year, they can't hold it for very long, and they have to go a lot. So you're gonna have to commit to taking them outside like once an hour, possibly around the clock, for it to really be successful. So save yourself that trouble and have a place for them to go indoors. Because they can't hold it very long, they are not gonna wanna run from one side of the house to the other to go where they're supposed to. They're gonna start finding other places, behind furniture, hidden, out of the way. If you're starting to see that behavior in your pig, you need to either limit their living space and or add more pads around the house. I do both. So I have the playpen that I personally use. Again, I'll link it down below. It works great. It's portable. I can move it around the house with me. I can take it on road trips with me. Pretty lightweight, pretty inexpensive. So I do that anytime I can't keep an eye on my piglets. If I'm just out doing chores outside, or I need to run errands or whatever, they're in that pen. They're perfectly happy in there. As they get older, I can increase the size by adding more panels, but it offers the perfect space where they can have their pad, a pile of blankets, food and water bowls, which really just helps encourage them to go where they're meant to go. And I highly, highly encourage you to at least start out that way. Mine will stay in that pen probably until they're, about 6 months old, if I'm not watching them. Now, if I'm home and I can keep an eye on them, I just make sure that there are potty pads pretty much in every room of my house. When they get older, they will hold it better. They will wait until you let them outside, or they will make the trip from one room to another. In my experience, it's also pretty ineffective to scold them for going where they shouldn't. A pig knows. I mean, it would prefer to go outside. It would prefer to go on the pad that it's used to going on, but it went somewhere else because none of that was easy or accessible. One of the stereotypes that is accurate when it comes to pigs is that they're kind of lazy. So if you haven't made it easy on them, they're gonna blame you. You didn't let me outside, so I went in the corner. Why are you yelling at me? You should have taken me out. That's kind of how their brain operates. So scolding them just really doesn't seem to work. Sometimes, unfortunately, I'll have selected one corner of the room for the pad, and a pig will choose a different corner of the room. When they're young like that, I kind of let them win this argument, and I will rearrange my furniture or whatever is necessary to put a pad where they think it's a better place for pottying. I know some people have voiced concerns about making that transition if they ultimately want their pig to only go outdoors. They worry that by first starting with the pad, the pig won't train to go outside. I do like to take them out to go to the bathroom as well. It's great for them to get outside once a day anyways, root around, they get iron from the soil and things like that. It's great to always take them outside, even just for a short bit. And you will probably find, basically the minute I set a pig outside, it's gonna wanna go to the bathroom. It's also gonna start nibbling on things, but it's gonna want to use the bathroom almost right away, every single time. So I do like to do that as well, and I'll praise them. Don't give treats. Try to never give treats, basically, especially when potty training. Don't give treats, because pigs are smart and they will start trying to trick you to give them treats. They'll run over to their potty pad and they'll wait for you to give them a treat. And when you don't, they're gonna start to get mad because they think they should be getting a treat. And then this can start a whole dominant, aggressive, demanding, spoiled pig behavior that we don't want to see. So don't reward them with treats, but praise and scratches and all of that is great. Do that, do lots of that. So when they go to the bathroom outside or on their pad, I do praise them. And then honestly, I find the older they get, they almost train themselves because they want to be going outside. The whole house becomes their living space versus just their little designated pen or room or whatever they slowly are given more access to. That becomes their whole living space, and so they prefer to go outside than try to aim it on this little pad where they have to still smell it and step in it and all of that. So they'll start asking to go outside. They'll jump at the door, they'll oink, they'll grunt, they'll come over to me, they'll grunt at me, they'll run over to the door, grunt some more. Again, if I don't let them out in time, then they'll sometimes basically punish me by still going inside. So you do have to be very aware. And again, that's why I always keep a pad no matter how old they are. I keep one available just in case I'm not paying enough attention and I don't get to the door in time. But they'll really train themselves. So that's not something that I'm really concerned with. Never had any problem with it. I know a lot of times people will ask me if pigs mark like a dog does. No. They do develop an odor if they're not fixed, but they're not going to go around and spray like a dog or a cat will. If you think your pig is completely house trained and then let's say a few months later suddenly it starts reverting and going to the bathroom where it feels like it again, that means it's probably been given too much space, too much free time, so you need to either decide if you want to go back to a smaller area, a pen, or even just putting up some baby gates and you're limiting them to 1 room or 2 rooms versus the whole house, or you need to kind of just give in and put more pads around wherever your pig has decided it likes to use the bathroom. Basically, you need to take it back to step 1 and start all over. So don't rush giving them more access. I would wait until they are at least 6 months, possibly even a year for some pigs. I again will link all of the products that I talked about below. Those are just the ones I use to give you an idea. I'm so scared to look at what just happened. I have my phone sitting on my phone case. I had my camera sitting on my phone, on the pop socket, on my phone, on the railing because it just wasn't quite tall enough, and I just like picked my camera up and threw my phone over the porch railing where also, P.S. it's raining, so it bounced off a bush and it's getting rained on right now and I'm terrified. Ugh. Oh no. Well, at least it's not cracked, it's just a little rained on.